Hey everyone, I know the world is a very sad and dark place, but some of you probably have people that you look up to, or if not, just someone you see as an example of being really nice. And by far, famous people tend to inspire their fans the most, which I understand, because although they may not know each and every single one of them, their fans have probably been supporting them for years. Most of the time, some fans that meet the person they look up to turn out to really not like them because of the way they've acted, and I have reacted to stories similar to that. But there is, thankfully, people who are just as nice in person as they are on camera, which I kind of have to respect, because the energy to always be positive has to be really taxing. To some, it probably takes nothing, and they're just always naturally that nice and love to see fans or supporters of them. There are some people where their fans might over-exaggerate how awesome they are, but all in all, there are others that definitely live up to it.
Of these 10 beloved celebrities, which one has the absolute fewest haters? Well, let's begin by...
Is that Ted on the bottom? If he brings up Ted as being a nice guy, I'm not gonna believe him.
For one reason, almost everybody loves him. For example, after being surrounded by a horde of photographers, Jack Black deliberately pulled the stupidest poses on his bike before trolling the paparazzi.
That looked painful. He was sitting down for the bike seat to like ram up his ass. God.
There it is! You're in my dust!
Which was a similar response to when he was ambushed by a single photographer.
So, any new projects we should know about, sir?
What the fuck? His lips did that thing that helicopters do where like if you record on the camera where it looks like it's not spinning. That was his lips right there. If I was to like stopped like somewhere on the street by some one photographer, I'd just punch him in the face. It's not like I'm gonna get a horde of people attacking me just for that.
Image. Jack Black shows that being an idiot can be just as beneficial, although he's also able to show maturity in the moments where it matters, like when he took the time to sing to a young kid who was a fan of School of Rock. Jack Black, he's just such a lovable guy. How could you not like him? Met him once briefly, he was nice enough. He was really great with his kid. Something about Jack Black just feels so human. But while Jack Black has always been loved by everybody, the now
I hate him, Jumanji.
Was once disliked by many. As the face
he reminds me of Jonah Hill because he really is like the polar opposite where he accepts that he's just like some fat goofy guy and he embraces it, as opposed to Jonah Hill that tries to fight it off while making millions acting it in films from that character.
I hated him when he was being shoved down our throats by Vince, while a Sportster article claimed he was disliked for being over-pushed. This had only been done, however, because he was too perfect. He maintains a clean image outside of WWE and is a perfect role model for kids who form a big part of WWE's fan base, and he carried the company on his back through and through for over 15 years. He was a reliable name for WWE during that time.
Nothing against John Cena, but I hate people on Reddit that say, because he is the GOAT. I hate that word so much.
The world's hardest languages, just to further the company's presence.
WWE has really never been able to penetrate China. So I figured if one of WWE's top superstars could bridge the language barrier, maybe we can get some relevancy over there.
On top of this, John Cena holds the world.
Is WWE big in China? If it is, I have to respect that. That really is like bringing a huge chunk of the country across the ocean.
When you experience something like the reward of a Make-A-Wish, if you're not moved, I don't know if you have a beating heart.
How can haters hate on him? He's a good guy with a kind heart. Cena, you're the man. With all this in mind, it's no surprise Cody Rhodes stated,
John's the ultimate role model.
Although if we're talking about ultimate role models, then Steve Irwin has to come next. Not only did he treat the media and his fans with respect, but of course animals too, using all of his income to purchase conservation areas in 4 different countries.
What good is a fast car, a flash house and a gold-plated dunny to me? Absolutely no good at all. I've been put on this planet to protect wildlife and wilderness areas, which in essence is going to help humanity. And you know, money's great. I can't get enough money. And you know what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to buy wilderness areas with it. Every single cent I get goes straight into conservation. And guess what, Charles? I don't give a rip whose money it is, mate. I'll use it and I'll spend it on buying land.
When interviewed
stop a grandma and steal her money just to buy some. He really is the one who, you can tell where the whole stereotype of Australians being like kind of like outback people came from, just from him. Like he really is like, God himself wrote him on paper and just threw him down onto Australia, and it's really put in stone what people are like in there. If there's one kind of person that I have to respect a lot, it's kind of people that do inspire kids. I feel like a lot of people grew up really loving animals, and if not, wanting to be like work in a zoo or just be some kind of vet just for him. So I have to respect that. I mean, of course, the last two people were probably like John Cena and Jack Black wanted to have their own career, respected to what they did, like being a wrestler or being in a band. I don't know what Jack Black does. He's in a band, he's an actor. He's just a mix of all things. But with him, you can really tell like at least hundreds of kids wanted to have a specific career with animals just because of him.
3. Steve used the interview to promote the protection of endangered species, and it seems his good nature was continued by the rest of his family. I never met Steve, but met the rest of the family when they were filming on Morton Island. Great bunch, friendly, approachable, so knowledgeable and willing to have a chat. Won us all over and were more than happy to join us for a drink in the evening. Steve Irwin was so kind toward animals that even after being killed by a stingray, fans have stated, I'm still a firm believer that Steve would have been like, Cricket, I'm so sorry Stingray, I didn't mean to scare you. You were just defending yourself and I was in your space. Gosh, what a beauty. Admittedly, there are people—
Right, as much as I respect them, that's the one story that I have to admit was kind of dumb on his part for doing. It wasn't a story that he jumped out of an airplane and into an ocean and dove into like some stingray, which I'm not saying you deserve it, but 2 + 2, you're gonna die of a stingray attack.
He kept animals locked in his zoo, although finding a reason to hate Terry Crews is a much more difficult mission. In fact, when you Google Terry Crews in the media, all you'll find is articles like 19 reasons why Terry Crews is a gift to the world, and 9 of the biggest reasons—
I can tell that's BuzzFeed from the font, so I'm not gonna look that up.
Citing Terry Crews' less than serious nature. For example, he does the exact same jump at every red carpet event, although there's another Terry Crews meme that's a whole lot better. Daniel the Goat wrote on Twitter, I keep this pic of Terry Crews in my wallet so I can see it when I'm about to waste money on things I don't need.
That's good. I like that.
Pretty good idea. I keep this pic of myself in my wallet so I can see it when I'm about to waste money on things I don't need, lol. Although the reason—
Oh, you're rich, what do you have to worry about?
Photo is because he's also incredibly disciplined. In a Reddit AMA, he explained, I spend almost 2 hours a day working out, and it's therefore no surprise he's built such a crazy physique, which has helped him to land some of Hollywood's most lovable roles, like Cheeseburger Eddie and Latrell Spencer from White Chicks. Terry Crews has also maintained his marriage for almost 35 years, which is a great indicator of likability.
He's the one I can't feel bad for him on one part, because he does do most acting, but he's one of those people I was like typecast to be a tough guy that's meant to be goofy, as if I haven't seen it 100 times in every other movie. But I don't blame him. If he's gonna take that role, he's gonna make money out of it. I'm not gonna shame him for doing the same kind of role. If fans like it, I'm not gonna butt in and be like, actually, he's done it 100 times. You shouldn't like him for that. If you like an actor just for that role, then fair enough. I'm not gonna piss it off.
In fact, the only time Tom Hanks ever got angry in public was when somebody bumped into his wife.
Back the f*** off! What are y'all doing? Knocking over my wife!
Although he has been exposed for behaving badly on film sets. Only the person who exposed him was Tom Hanks himself. Not everybody is at their best every single day on a motion picture set, the 2-time Oscar winner said. I've had tough days trying to be a professional where my life has been falling apart in more ways than one, and the requirement for me that day is to be funny, charming, and loving, and it's the last way I feel. Despite often feeling frazzled, Tom Hanks appears legendary in almost every role. However, even then his movies are often hated, well, again by Tom Hanks himself. Okay, let's admit this. We have all seen movies that we hate. I've been in some movies that I hate. You have seen some of my—
Oh, please tell me he brings up the Terminal. I hate that film.
Moments, only making him even more likable. In fact, the only location you might find a Tom Hanks hater is r/unpopular opinion, where one user responded, upvote to the realest unpopular opinion I've ever seen on this sub. Well done, you absolute psychopath. Although nothing—
Oh my god, what a nerd. I mean, if you're like that diehard of a fan of him, that you're like, you're a psycho. What do you mean you don't like Tom Hanks? Like, alright, calm down, dude. Just don't like him. I'm sorry.
Bob Ross, who was not only loved for his extremely wholesome persona, but also for inspiring millions to become artists themselves. Bob's show brought me so much joy, peace, and encouragement as a child. He was one of the reasons I started painting. I remember buying my first painting set and painting along to one of his episodes. I eventually realized that his style of painting was not for me, but his warm heart and gentle encouragement is something that I want.
I'm much more manga, please.
make mistakes in one of my paintings, I hear him saying we don't make mistakes, just happy little accidents. This follows Bob Ross's other philosophy that being different is not bad or good, it just is. And in case this wasn't wholesome enough, Bob Ross donated around 1,200 paintings, which was sold to help with fundraisers, while he refused to be paid by PBS for his show, and instead gave all 403 episodes to the TV network for free.
Oh my god. He could have made millions, billions out of that show. Trillions maybe.
Yankovic's legacy might be even cleaner. His genuinely funny songs had the advantage of being part of everybody's childhood, and while his interviews already show that he's a super awesome guy.
Oh my god. Nothing against him, but he's one of those guys where when he's young, he has beautiful, luscious hair, but when he gets older, it starts fitting.
For example, Patton Oswalt once said that Weird Al is the lone exception to the phrase never meet your heroes, while Kurt Cobain literally said he knew Nirvana had made it when Weird Al called him to get permission to parody Smells Like Teen Spirit. This is because Weird Al personally reaches...
I want to look up what the parody was for that, just to see how creative he was that day. Wow, that's probably the most creative he ever was. Smells Like Nirvana. Actual genius.
He parodies them, not because it's required by law, but instead out of respect. Even then, Weird Al pays royalties to those he chooses to parody, which in turn makes him loved by other artists, except for Coolio or Weird Al Yankovic's one and only hater. After Weird Al parodied Gangsta's Paradise by instead making Amish Paradise...
That's the best one, what?
...and chose to slam Weird Al on a different track, thus starting their feud. The two eventually squashed their beef 10 years later in 2006, with Weird Al's one and only public feud, placing him lower than James
I would have loved to see like Coolio get like mobbed by some group of Amish people because he didn't like that song, because that was the one culture fame, that parody song.
Was of such legendary status, every viewer couldn't help but love him, but while his character in the show was braggadocious and sometimes mean-spirited, James Buckley was the opposite in real life. When he began uploading to YouTube in 2016, people realized James Buckley couldn't have been more humble, which has since helped him to become the highest paid star on Cameo.
You're a Cameo millionaire.
Yeah, I don't want to rip people off. I charge 40 quid, you know, two mates can go in, 20 quid each, their other mate down the pub.
The only real disaster in James Buckley's career was the In-Betweeners 10-year reunion, prompting him to tweet feeling pretty hated right now. Although given James Buckley...
Oh, not this guy. I knew he was going to show up on the list, but I hate this whole idea of Keanu Reeves being a nice guy, because he's the only guy I can imagine him like shooting up a place because everyone says like, oh, you're such an angel, we all love you. Like, how long has he been acting? Like years maybe? Or like, I just remember like that one miserable part of his life where like his sister or his wife died in a car crash, and I'm not gonna blame him for that. It wasn't like he was steering the car into a crash, but I just remember all his fans being like, oh, we're so sorry, we hope you feel better, which I understand like probably does help a little bit, but at the same time, when you have like someone so big in your life just die in a horrible way, I think the last thing you want to see is just fans like mob around you, be like, oh my god, we love you, don't worry, you're still our favorite actor, we all love you. Like, give him some room, man. I feel so bad for him.
Keanu Reeves has to come next. His lack of haters can be summarized by two simple words: likable vibe. Keanu Reeves is known for being one of
what subreddit is that has that kind of upvote?
Hollywood, being spotted on subways and park benches as if he were just another person. On a subreddit dedicated to Keanu Reeves being awesome, the second top post of all time reads, actors that nobody hates annual meeting, followed by Keanu sitting beside Tom Hanks. In fact, Keanu Reeves
that
is so loved
is
on
so
Reddit, he overtook
gay.
Barack Obama to achieve the most upvoted AMA of all time, where he used most of the attention to prop up other actors. This discussion about him being loved only makes others join the train and like him also, although there's one more celebrity who likely has even fewer haters.
Fair enough. I respect that.
Rogers. His lack of cynics requires little explanation. Fred Rogers was simply unhateable. His demeanor was so kind, calm, and caring that when his car was stolen from outside of the network, the thieves returned the car to the exact same spot 2 days later, with a note on the windscreen reading, "If we'd known it was yours, we never would have taken it." Mr.
I was
Rogers
gonna joke about that. Come on.
definition of leaving
When you have that much power on like a country, you're basically like the next president if you can make people do what you want.
Jim Crow. He cast black actors on his program, with his kind nature certainly extending to outside of the show. I actually met him a few times when I was younger. I knew his grandson, and his personality wasn't just some facade he used on camera. He was genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met. By all accounts, he actually was the kind and gentle man that he appeared to be on TV. In fact, this person thought hating Mr. Rogers was a sign of narcissistic parenting, with his likability being summarized by one single sentence. Mr. Rogers was, and in spirit remains, living proof that it's possible to conquer evil with kindness.
No, that is true, man. He's one person that is, I understand that image of people loving him, because he does seem like an actual nice person off camera. Like, you have several people in Hollywood, or like in some talk show that put up a face of being really nice, but behind camera, like offset, they're just like so detestable that you can't imagine being around them. I've never really had one actor that I grew up watching on, and when they died, I like cried. But I feel like if I were born around that time and I watched him, it probably one single cold tear from my dead eyes probably would go down my face if I saw him die. But man, that story about like his car getting stolen and then returned is so funny, because I imagine it just being crack as like some kind of person that you would never imagine watching his show, but then you find out like they watch an episode of his show, like they're cracked and we're like, wait a second, and we stole Mr. Rogers' car? Oh my god, and then they return it, which, you know, that's nice, I have to respect that. And, you know, to be fair, the most I've seen him on was like that Tom Hanks film, which, you know, he was in the video as well, you know, it's a nice connection, even though it wasn't really him, it was like some actor playing him, but it was still nice because that movie in general was like a heartwarming film to watch, and that was probably enough to see why so many people loved watching his show, just to like feel like just nice in general and like be a good person, you know. So out of all the actors that have the title of being like the nicest person ever, he's the only person I would like not fight for, because I can see why, and there probably are reasons why even off camera he was still a really nice person, so I respect that, you know, I'll give him credit.